Hello and welcome to For Real. If you're new here, I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about what we do. We generally put out 2 or 3 videos a week, but the one that we put out on Wednesday is always what we call our news Moto. And we call it that because I read the news, and while I'm reading the news, Jeremy rides around different parts of Cambodia to show you the scenery. So it's kind of a 2-part thing. You get to find out what's happening in Cambodia, and you also get to see some footage of Cambodian countryside or towns or wherever we happen to be. And the other videos besides the News Moto are about our lives here in Cambodia, things that we do, things that we're exploring, places that we go to eat and drink, that kind of thing. Another thing you might not know is that we give the money that we make from YouTube to charities in Cambodia. So we don't ask for donations or anything like that. We don't do buy me a coffee or Patreon or anything like that. The money that we make is purely from YouTube earnings based on people liking and watching our videos. So we don't ask for money, but we do ask if you could please like, subscribe and comment on our videos because it really helps us to get more revenue from YouTube. Every little bit helps, and something is always better than nothing. In the description of this video, you can see the amounts and the charities that we've donated to so far. We don't want your money, we just want your extra time and your likes. And since you're already here, let's get started. Today is Wednesday, the 1st of September. Cambodia's daily case numbers increased today for the 4th day running, and that's after weeks of declining active case numbers. Today's total was 455 new cases, and that brings the total of COVID cases that have been discovered in Cambodia to 93,510 cases. Of those, about 84% are community transmission and 16% are imported cases. On the vaccine front, Cambodia is expected to reach 10 million adults fully vaccinated against COVID by September the 10th. It took just 7 months to reach this magical number. Since the campaign began on February 10, a total of 9,248,577 adults have received at least 1 dose, and 8,182,819 have been fully vaccinated. The fully vaccinated total is sitting at 80% of the targeted 10 million. Phnom Penh might be the capital city with the highest rate of vaccination in the world, but this hasn't stopped the governor from suspending activities deemed to carry a high risk of spreading COVID. Public gatherings have been banned for a further 14 days from the 27th of August until the 9th of September. In Kampot, the Tukmias market has been shut down after 15 vendors tested positive for COVID. The market was closed on the 28th of August and will remain closed until further notice. That market is not located in Kampot town, it's in Ban Mths district, which is one of the districts that borders Vietnam. The governor there explained that a vendor of the market began to experience shortness of breath and fever. He then bought a rapid test kit and tested himself, with the results returning a positive response. The family of the vendor then reported his condition to the authorities. The authorities and medical team then conducted mass rapid testing on 229 vendors and workers, and from the workers, 15 people tested positive. It shows that the availability of cheap, quick test kits is definitely a great benefit for public health in places like Cambodia. The Koh Rong City Administration said that tourists can continue to visit the islands without receiving 2 doses of COVID-19 vaccine as long as they exercise the precautions associated with COVID. Visitors will also need to be very strong swimmers. Contrary to the remarks of the governor of Koh Rong, the president of Sihanoukville Tourist Boat Association said that passenger transport will only be available for those who have been vaccinated. On a personal note, we received our vaccination cards this week. The cards contain a QR code, and when you scan that, it takes you to an individual web page that shows the vaccination details, like when you had your first dose, when you had your second dose, and which kind of vaccine it was. It's pretty amazing that Cambodia can get this together while many other countries with better resources are still struggling, our dear home country included. It appears that incoming British nationals who travel to Cambodia are now able to choose one of the 4 officially accredited Alternative State Quarantine Hotels, or ASQ hotels, to complete their quarantine. Previously, British nationals had not been able to use those ASQ hotels, and the 4 hotels include the Sokar Phnom Penh Hotel and Residence, the Courtyard by Marriott Phnom Penh, Raffles Hotel Le Royal Phnom Penh, and Sofitel Phnom Penh. Instead, they've been automatically sent to the OK Boutique Hotel in Phnom Penh. We'll put a link to a video from another channel called Itchy Feet on the Cheap. Those guys have just finished a quarantine stint, and it might be of interest to some of you. The Ministry of Health has allowed private health centres to provide healthcare and treatment for COVID-19 patients with mild symptoms at home. So there are people in home quarantine who actually have COVID, but not the Delta variant. The Ministry of Health said the private hospitals providing the healthcare during quarantine are required to have their medical team appropriately trained by ministry trainers. In some breaking news now, the Minister of Education has stated that they will start allowing schools to open in non-infectious locations across the country, but strict health measures must be followed. According to the ministry, only about 15 students per class will be allowed in low infection areas, and students must also be fully vaccinated. The minister asked education officials to evaluate the study area and set up a clear plan to gain approval from the capital and provincial authorities. They must then send all of this documentation to the ministry. Online learning will still continue to be implemented for high-risk areas, and any teachers over the age of 50 will be required to teach online for the time being. Forensic experts of the Phnom Penh Municipal Police are investigating a location where 2 human bodies have been discovered buried in pits in Phnom Penh. The discovery was made by a local resident at a hill in the south of the capital in Cam Ranh village in Phnom Penh's Kampot, which is a district to the west of the airport. The remains were first seen at least 2 weeks ago. However, the man who discovered them neglected to inform authorities of his gruesome discovery. The deceased, a man and a woman, appear to be victims of a murderous attack, according to preliminary forensic investigations. According to a source, both victims appear to have died around 6 months ago. Police are now seeking to identify the victims and discover the perpetrator and his or her motive for the murders. The Supreme Court yesterday heard the appeal of a former senior anti-drug police officer who was sentenced in 2019 for possessing and trafficking nearly 1 kilo of methamphetamine in Siem Reap. Also in 2019, Siem Reap police arrested 2 drug traffickers in Slow Kram. They seized a total of 12 packages of methamphetamine weighing nearly 1 kilo, 1 scale, 2 phones and other drug paraphernalia. The pair confessed that the drugs were bought from the then newly appointed Provincial Police Deputy Chief in charge of the anti-drug department. The Deputy Chief said the reason for his arrest was jealousy linked to his new promotion. He accused provincial police officers of plotting to get him out of his position. All 3 were sentenced to 30 years in prison and fined around $20,000 each. Cambodia has taken some very stern action against noodle importers who have falsely used the terms Phnom Penh noodle products and Angkor Wat temple logos on noodle products sold in the United States. According to a press release from the Cambodian Embassy in the United States, the action taken follows the discovery of a case of distribution in the US market of packaged dried noodles, calling themselves Phnom Penh noodle products and using Angkor Wat in its logo. The Cambodian Embassy has stated that the use of the words and logo Phnom Penh noodle products and Angkor Wat without permission violates the provisions of Cambodian law, agreements and international treaties. Secretary of State and spokesman for the Ministry of Commerce confirmed that the Ministry of Commerce will continue to research the origin of the dried noodles to determine which country they are made in, although they appeared to be Vietnamese in origin. Once the nationality of the manufacturer is known, the ministry will take action to stop it immediately. Over the course of 8 months, the General Department of Consumer Protection, Competition and Fraud Suppression conducted inspections on 447 petrol stations and depots. In their inspections, they found that 197 fuel stations had violated consumer protection laws. That's about 44%. Authorities from the department investigated and fined 184 fuel depots. Judicial police implemented penalties on those 184 establishments, while 13 were let off with a warning and a cease and desist order. The most common violation was selling regular petrol as premium petrol. India's Navy has seized a tanker and its crew who were wanted on charges of stealing nearly 300,000 barrels of crude oil from Cambodia's reserves. The Bahamian-flagged mths was picked up on the 27th of July off the coast of Sumatra, they said, days after Phnom Penh issued a red notice on Interpol to seize the ship over claims it stole the kingdom's crude. The mths is carrying 300,000 barrels of crude, which is allegedly stolen from Singapore-based Chris Energy, which had been given the rights to drill for oil in the kingdom. Apparently the barrels are worth around $21 million. The tanker had turned off its identification system and anchored illegally in Indonesia's waters. The ship's operators have since denied the charges. On what would have been the 89th birthday of legendary Cambodian singer Sin Sisamuth, the US Embassy announced that it will sponsor 2 NGOs to reproduce one of his songs called Love and Lost. It's going to be used in a film about his life. Sin Sisamuth is known in Cambodia as the Golden Voice, and he is the country's most celebrated singer and songwriter. He disappeared during the period of the genocide, and his exact fate remains unknown. Even now, his songs are very popular, and you can often hear them being played as you walk past houses and shops in the streets of Cambodia. A group of women helped a 23-year-old woman deliver her baby on the roadside in Ratnakiri's Kun Mom district. The woman's husband was taking her to the health centre on his motorcycle, and at about 4:30 p.m. he had to stop because it was clear they weren't going to get there in time. When the man stopped his motorcycle, a group of women noticed that the 23-year-old was about to deliver her baby, and they immediately swung into action to help her. Parents and baby are reported to be doing well. Khmer food has been featured in the September issue of Wanderlust magazine. 5 popular dishes were included, and they were wok fried crab with pepper, nom ben chok noodles, fish amok, bobor porridge, and pomelo salad with freshwater shrimp. Today is the first day of Cambodia's new fiscal year, and also the day that the country's first 7-Eleven has opened in Phnom Penh. It will be in competition with convenience chains such as Circle K and Kiwi Mart that are already well established in Phnom Penh. Fear not though, it's unlikely that the presence of 7-Eleven will have any impact on the individual locally owned corner stores that exist all over the country. At least not for quite some time. Apparently they do have plans to open more stores here in Cambodia, but that will be a very long-term plan. Last up, we have some weather news. During the coming weeks, Cambodia will be severely affected by a low-pressure system. Much of the country can expect to receive moderate to heavy rain, with thunder and gusts, and some areas may experience flash floods. That is it for the news wrap-up today. We don't have any news about the September announcement regarding opening of borders, etc. As soon as we have that, of course, we will share it. They did say it would be early September, and it's only the 1st, so plenty of time for that news to still come in on time. Check out the links that we have in our description to other YouTubers making content here in Cambodia and also other people that we follow. Check out the comments section of this video and you'll see the list of news stories that we used as the source for this article if you want to read any further about any of those. Thanks again, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.